Well, ho, 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 everybody. Welcome to Zoobox Goes to the Movies. My name is Shaun. I'm joined again by Mr. Big Paul here. What's up, Big Paul?
What's going on, buddy? Happy to be here.
And he's returned once again. He's the only guest that's allowed to come on during this time of year, the Christmas season. I have to bring my Grinch. I got to bring my Grinch because I got to try to change his heart.
Oh my god, man! You stole my thunder. I was going back. It's that time of the year where I watch a fucking Christmas movie for my good buddy, and then I make him mad. So.
Yeah, I think the only time I would say like I ever got like maybe sincerely mad for like 10 seconds was "It's a Wonderful Life."
Yeah.
Which I've already called. I called you out last year. If you go back and watch our episode of Bad Santa,
you did call me out last year, and there's going to be the sickest excerpt cut up of that episode too to prove the 3 layers of that. But that's not what we're talking about tonight.
So definitely standing on Miracle on 34th Street. I even recall. I have like a sense memory of almost becoming mad at you when you were fucking attacking Jimmy Stewart. About there are people in your life that are just better than you. That are just better than some other people. You're going to meet those real heroes. Like George Bailey is a hero to Bedford Falls. Like he's a hero. He didn't even fucking know it.
Yeah.
But when he needed them, they were there because he had been like this presence and his family had built this reputation. There was a legacy there that he catered to, that he took care of without realizing it. It actually reminds me a lot. Do you know the story of Job?
The story of like the Bible.
Yeah, like the Bible story of Job. The rich man who God's like, I'm going to test this guy, how much he believes in me. So I'm going to kill his kids. I'm going to kill his wife. I'm going to take all of his fortune away. I'm going to make his crops die. And like, but that's very similar to George Bailey's story in the sense that it's like, this is a man that has to confront his own principles. Like, do I do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do? Or do I only do the right thing if it benefits me?
Yeah.
And George Bailey always does the right thing because it's the right thing to do, even though he fucking hates it. And that's a hero to me. Somebody that does the right thing, even though they fucking hate the result of it for themselves personally. That's a good person. I'm sorry you'll never understand that, Grinch. But
Monster kill.
Hey, you know what? But I think we ended that one with like you went like simple route, and I went like the Greek route. So well, maybe not rehash that. So.
We're talking about a Christmas classic. Everybody loves this movie. How can you not love this movie? We're going to be talking about 1983's A Christmas Story.
Only one story makes the holiday shine.
That star is crooked.
A classic tradition that's one of a kind. A Christmas Story.
Fragile. It must be Italian.
It celebrates the spirit of giving.
The film is directed by Bob Clark. It's written by Bob Clark and Lee Brown, based on a novel by Gene Shepard called In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. It stars Peter Billingsley, Melinda Dillon, Darren McGavin, Scott Schwartz, R.D., Rob, Yano, Anya, Zach Ward, Paul Hubbard, and Gene Shepard himself as the narrator, as old Peter. The logline plot synopsis is: in the 1940s, a young boy named Ralphie Parker attempts to convince his parents, teacher, and Santa Claus that a Red Ryder Ranger 200-shot BB gun really is the perfect Christmas
Today.
gift.
No! No, I want an official Red Ryder carbonized 200 Regiment rifle!
Just be ready to shout.
You'll shoot your eye out. Ho, ho, ho.
A Christmas Story.
Oh boy. So like I said, this is a very popular Christmas movie. This is kind of the last of the major big classic Christmas movies for us to cover. I mean, we went 1 year, we covered the gambit. We've done Miracle on 34th Street.
Yep.
We've done It's a Wonderful Life, which is that's a pretty substantial one. I don't know if you consider Bad Santa one. It's Bad Santa.
Yeah, no, that was one, right? Because it gets into like. No, just because it gets into like what is a Christmas movie, right?
Well, that was a big revelation. It was a revelation, that movie, when we did it last year, because we realized Bad Santa actually is kind of a legit Christmas movie. It's not just a cynical black comedy. It actually kind of
Exactly.
it's imbued with the holiday spirit. What else have we done?
Bodied. That shit bodied Christmas, man.
It bodied it.
Yeah. I'll throw back the High West tonight.
Oh, nice. I'm in the poorhouse right now, so I'm going to be finishing some Jim Beam Orange, and
Jim Beam
I'm drinking
Orange.
this delicious Yingling chocolate Hershey chocolate porter. It's actually pretty good. Not awful.
Yeah,
Not awful.
England's solid brewery. Been around for a long time. Good American staple, especially
That's
up
right.
in my area, the greater
Yes, and from
Philadelphia area.
Pennsylvania.
Yingling is the lager.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Much like where the story does not take place. The story takes place in Indiana, but filmed in Cleveland, Ohio, and in Canada.
Yep.
But yeah, so I guess that's the question. So this has like a pretty storied legacy. Everybody has probably seen A Christmas Story at least once in their life, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was on basic cable all the time during this time of year, and especially on TBS, TNT. They even do they still to this day, I believe, they play it for 24 hours straight. In fact, I probably haven't watched this movie sit down and watch it all the way through very many times in my life. It's something that was just kind of on in the background for a lot of my time growing up,
Sure.
And we're going to get into how we actually feel about the movie, having actually sat down and watched it like proper adults. But it's always one I've always been very fond of. It's one I've wanted to do for a while on the show. So I'm very happy that Big Paul decided so we could do it proper. And it's not just me kind of rambling for 17 minutes in front of a camera. But what is your history with it? What is your history with it, Paul? Did you grow up watching this, or?
Not at all. Not at all. Like I said, we grew up in the sticks and no cable, and this was not a movie that my parents circulated in there. Like there's no family attachment to this, and I knew obviously if you're exposed to pop culture in any way, you're going to be this will be in your periphery one way or another. But this was the first time I watched this movie in its entirety.
Really?
Ever? Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so 2022, the first time I'm watching it as a 37-year-old guy with 3 kids. So that's my perspective. So I'd come into it with any type of lens of nostalgia or anything like that. Solely watching it for my good buddy Shaun and our buddies at Zoobox Nation.
Yeah, that's right. So what did your family have Christmas movies that you guys were really into that you watched every year, or was it or did you guys not have those kinds of traditions, I suppose?
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't because we were wicked Catholic, so it wasn't so much about a lot of the movies and everything. So there's a lot of more.
It's about going to church.
Yeah, more faith-based stuff though. But the movies that we did watch a lot at that time growing up would be the classic clay animation, Frosty or the Grinch, right? So those are a big part of my childhood, the ones the same ones that were part of my parents' childhood.
The Rankin Bass claymation cartoons and stuff.
Yeah, so that's what. So it's very back in time type of thing in terms of Christmas pop culture. That's
I would say it's similar for me too, because I mean I guess my parents did kind of adopt cable and satellite pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
We were poor, but my dad made sure we had a satellite.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the same for me. For most Christmas movies, in terms of when I think about it as being a child, that's what I remember too. It was mostly those Rankin Bass movies or the Little Drummer Boy. My mom loved the Little Drummer Boy. We'd watch that 10 times in December.
Mm-hmm.
No, I won't go with you.
Stop struggling, boy.
We'd watch Frosty 10 times. We'd watch Rudolph 10 times. Now my son does the same thing. Drives me crazy. How many times I've watched Frosty the Snowman this year? Yeah, man, we're coming around probably 20 times.
Too much to count. Yeah. With my kids, I was just saying with my kids, all the prep and landing, and we got oh my god, the main Disney star, freaking Escape from New York. Why can I not think of his name? This is why you're the
Kurt
movie
Russell.
buff. I'm not. Kurt Russell is instant classic in there. So every year we're watching that one. Yeah, but no.
Christmas Chronicle, which actually the director of that directed the sequel to A Christmas Story. Well, the official sequel, A Christmas Story Christmas. He actually I looked back, I was like, oh shit. And he hasn't really done much else. He had done like Angry Birds, Christmas Chronicles, and then that movie. So I was like, oh, okay.
Nice.
Okay.
How about
Because
that?
I actually enjoy the first Christmas Chronicles movie.
Yeah.
That one's all right. What do you feel about the Santa Claus?
The Santa Claus.
Did you ever watch the Santa Claus?
The Tim Allen? The Tim Allen Santa Claus?
Yeah.
No, that one's making the rounds over here too. So yeah, that one too. So I'm surprised you didn't do that. I'm surprised you didn't do that one. Did you? No, you did a short one on that one.
Yeah, I did one of those the existential dread, like the dark subtext of Santa Claus. Yeah. And through this process, this guy, this poor sad sack, this working stiff accidentally kills Santa Claus. But it doesn't stop there. While they go investigate the scene, he and his son, they find a card in Santa Claus's pocket. It says, if something should happen to me, put on my suit. The reindeer will know what to do. Now, he's freed this poor soul, as we'll come to find out. This is a magical trick. This is basically witchcraft. Okay. Yeah, that's what I did. So everybody at home, you should check that out. I think it's funny, and I do things to entertain myself. So that's what you do when 60 people watch a video that you spent 4 hours making or 5 hours. Or whatever.
You know.
You do it for yourself.
We did it for the 60 people. We did it for the 60
That's
people.
true.
Audience of one, my friend. Audience of one. But you said so this was in your periphery a little bit, and then now you recently re-engaged in this, in preparation for tonight. So you like it?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite ones because there came a time in my youth when I really latched onto it. I think because I'm a weird nerd, and I was when I was a kid, I loved Darren McGavin, who plays the father.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of my favorite actors of that period. And as soon as I realized Darren, and I was and Paul knows this, I used to get those Columbia House clamshell things sent to my house of Kolchak the Night Stalker, and I'd bring them to Paul's house and make him watch them. And so when I realized Darren McGavin was in the movie, I was probably 13 or 14, and I just immediately glommed onto it and started watching it all the time, or at least once a year, at least, or it would be on at some point, be on in the background. It's kind of just a tradition. I got to just put it on at some point during the holiday season. And, but even coming back to it now, like I had said, it's not often that you actually just sit and watch these movies. I think that's probably true for a lot of Christmas movies.
Yeah,
things that you put on while you're decorating or while you're doing whatever. Especially
they're
the older
not
you get.
They're not Kubrick features, man. You're not sitting there trying to dissect them, whatnot. Which I probably did a little bit too much. But yeah, man, it was fun seeing Kolchak. And then right off the bat too, I think he's the best part of the movie, hands down.
Yeah. Very memorable.
But and this is, trust me, this will be on topic. But I recently been reading the Dune thing, and we were having this great conversation about how reading Dune after you've already been exposed to everything Dune influenced, it seems stale a little bit, right? After you've already been exposed to everything else that benchmarked off of Dune, and then you're going to the source material, and it takes out a little bit of the oomph as a reader, right?
Oh, for sure.
And it's funny, just with him, because he killed every sitcom dad or anything like that. Nobody can do it better than him that for he embodies what they were going for, that goofy
well, because
dad,
it encapsulates what a child would remember his dad being like, while also grounding it in a reality.
That hot damn walls is froze up again.
Some men are Baptists, others Catholics. My father was an Oldsmobile man.
Son of a bitch would freeze up in the middle of summer on the equator.
Little pitcher.
Hold it.
And here are those world travelers that actually It's a clinker! That blasted stupid furnace, that gummit.
Because it's a hammy performance. It's not a very natural performance, right?
No.
It's got a lot of bravado, and he monologues and stuff, and it's wonderful. But like, yeah, I totally agree. He really strikes that right balance. And no matter, and I would say this about the whole movie, this is like a movie that even though this has probably influenced so much media that came after it, I feel like this is one of the rare times where it's like, no, this is actually as really as good as people say it is or feel like it is, in my opinion.
Interesting. So you liked it as a kid, and now you like it as an adult.
Yeah, well, it's got that nostalgia factor for sure.
You got that nostalgia factor, man. I like that. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. It's also fucking lame.
This movie was the worst pile of shit I have ever seen.
So when we talk about what is a Christmas movie, right? We get here, like we go, it's like what did we say last year? Right? It's got to take place around this time of the year. We have a theme of like joy and unity, and then you got a positive message that just bodies like that theme, right? And that theme, joy to the world, right? Where do we get that in A Christmas Story?
Where do we get all of those elements?
Where do we get all those elements? Yeah.
It's the family.
Oh, really? It's so
Ralphie's family. Ralphie's family as they're going through the season, because Christmas is on the periphery of most of the vignettes. Like most of the things that Ralphie's doing, it doesn't really involve Christmas. It kind of involves his desire for what Christmas present he wants. But I think that wholesome nature, that coming together of community, etc., it actually exists in his home, and it kind of ramps up. That there's like a sense of escalation of holiday spirit in their house as it goes on, in my opinion. What do you say?
Okay.
Do you think it doesn't fit the criteria?
Like, no, I don't actually. I don't think it fits the criteria for that.
Surprise!
The only thing that it does is that it takes place, during Christmas, and the title is like A Christmas Story. I think this is actually like a dark comedy that's about repressed memories, and the punchlines are in the themes. They come in the themes of domestic violence and emotional abuse, neglect. That's what I think this is. I think it missed the mark as an actual Christmas movie. And you can look at through the lens as like ooby dooby nostalgia piece, like, oh, this is great. But if you actually sit there and watch it as an adult, it's fucked up, man. It's a fucked up movie.
Okay.
So you just get into like every aspect, like of where, like, we'll take like the second thing, like unity, right? Every time, like, what is the big bonding moment he has with his mother?
The big bonding moment he has with his mother.
Bonding moment he has with his mother, right?
Well, they're all very subtle things that like show you what it's like to actually be a family, like not like a cartoon version of a family. It's like a real family, even though it's a little heightened. These are like real things that like people experience in a household.
Something like that. So I'll take it back there. So the person, we'll stick with the mom, and then we'll work through like the rest of the family.
Okay, so what's the mom? What's your case for the mom not being Christmassy enough?
Oh, Christmas enough. So I'm talking about like the theme. So like, where do we meet the criteria of showing like a positive message that embodies the theme of this, right? And so like and then throughout like most of the movie, it is one-dimensional. You got to take it for what the timepiece that he's trying to do, and then understand that we got like unreliable, omnipresent like narrator going through this, right? So the whole thing, and I'll talk more about this later, but like the whole thing is just recollecting like hazy memories going there, right? And it bleeds into the rest of the film, which I think is very like intentional. And then like the more I think about it, the more I like it. For what this film is, right? But just kind of going in, like we can start at the dinner table, like with the mom, like neglect, and we'll talk about the relationship with the main character Ralphie, with his mom. And so we had Scut Fuckus, the guy who probably single. You don't have to correct me. It's
no, you're right. Scott, it is Scut Farkas. No, I thought it was Scott. You're right.
That's what I said. Future Sean can edit that out, man. You know what I mean?
No, you were right. It's Scut Farkas.
No, I'm saying you can edit out you correcting me being a dick. That's what I'm saying. You can edit that part out.
Never.
Release the Kraken. Full tapes. The people must know. Zubok files. Release.
Put the raw video up now.
Yeah, but who probably single-handedly like threw back, Ginger Boy's, decades ago. That character is probably the main reason why, a lot of ginger kids get a bad rep for this.
Maybe.
Coming in there with his Davy Crockett hat and just terrorizing Ralphie and all of his friends. But when we have this moment that's leading up to when he actually confronts Scud and beats the shit out of him. And we're talking like a classic 1980s PG type of ass whooping. Like Scud's got fucking blood all over his nose, blood on Sir, right? Ralphie's beating that ass, man. He's knocking his ass out. And then what's crazy is that his mom comes in and just completely disregards. You go back and watch the film. Just doesn't even acknowledge that this bullying. Why did I happen? I thought what happened? So she's crying. She gets him out there, and I rewinded a couple times. She doesn't even acknowledge the abuse that her kid just put down there, or even there's no indication. No, there's no indication that they know that this bullying is happening. What they've done now is just formed a situation of what happened. There's this whole fight that's happening, and then their big bonding moment is to basically the white lie with their father and to keep that from him from not knowing.
So what else happened today?
Oh, nothing much. Ralphie had a fight.
A fight? What kind of a fight?
Oh, you know how boys are. I gave him a talking to. I see that the Bears are playing Green Bay on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Zudok's got tickets. I wish I had. Well, it freezes his keystroke off out there.
I slowly began to realize I was not about to be destroyed.
The Chicago Bears. Terror of the Midway. Oh, what a laugh.
From then on, things were different between me and my mother.
And that's such a layer of also for the time everyone in the 40s or that time period, or even back to when this film was made in the 80s, ass whoopings were part of life, especially that was part of life, right? So you're going to do that. So there is a natural instinct. Dad's going to whoop your ass. But what's really crazy is how it's embodied into his younger brother. What was that character's name? The youngest, I don't know, whatever, younger brother. I was doing this weird shit, hiding under Randy. Sink because he thinks that because of what happened with Ralphie and Scott Fuckus is going to be such a rock that he doesn't even want to see the violence. And and even we saw earlier accounts of him, when he gets his defense mechanism is to just fall down, lay down, and hide. And so so a typical what could have been talking about confronting bullying, take it too far, and and having that nature of any normal parent would if their kid got into a scuffle like this and talk about it. She's instilling a very bad slippery slope with her son who Ralph. I think he's 8. Was he 8 or 10 in the film?
Yeah, so, something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, something like that too. And now we're keeping this a secret from him. This is going to be our this is our bonding moment from him. And we see that replicate that he repeats that behavior moving forward, near the end of the movie, when he does shoots the metal first time he finally shoots his BB gun, bounces back in his eyes, and then he doesn't want this because her prophecy or her warnings all came true. And so then goes and lies and says, "Oh, an icicle fell. I'm glad I broke my glasses," and blah blah.
Broke my glasses. And I tried to get out of the way. But
Oh, see, it's just a little bump. Ralphie, you're lucky it didn't cut your eye. Those icicles have been known to kill people.
It's oh no, I agree. And now you look what you created. Look what you did. Now you just instilled very bad.
This is such cynical bullshit, Paul.
It's not
total projection.
It's total projection. Bullshit. Because here's the thing:
this idea that you think when you were a kid and you got in a fight with a kid, what did your mom do? Did she bring you in the house and punish you?
Did she bring me in? No. I got in trouble for fighting, and then I had to get lectured about not resorting to violence.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about 1940s. First of all, we're talking about the 40s, Paul.
Sean.
And also, there's a lot of their life.
Whether it's the 40s, Sean, whether it's 1940s or it was last week.
all of these
You're
things
still,
are
you're
all
still,
of
you're
these things
still.
are authentically like authentic childhood experiences of what you would, how you would react as a child. They're all like these rites of passage moments. The idea that there's not some sort of wholesome idyllic, oh, his mother like gives him a talk about like the slippery slope of violence, and then he lies to his
No,
mom
not,
later,
not not the
like
slippery slope of violence. The slippery slope of like, not being like a forthright and like,
honest.
honest and open with the family. So the whole thing about like unity and like talking and having like a positive message that fits into the theme. Because Sean, I'm just saying why why they missed the theme of making this a Christmas movie and why it's
Yeah, but
not.
I think you're wrong because I think that's just how that's like a real
Well,
family.
you
That's
can
like
think that,
that's
but
like
you've also just admitted it 5 minutes ago that you suffer from the nostalgia take on this because you're going
oh
into this
bullshit,
with a
bullshit,
warm lens of this. Yeah, no,
bullshit.
I
You are
came into
projecting
this cold,
so
man. I
hard.
came into this
You're
cold. I came into this cold.
you're projecting very hard. I don't think your argument is very well supported at all.
It's
If you just look into like the details and give it like some sort of charity, like you're just going into the most cynical, negative possible approach. But if you just granted a little bit of charity and then you were just be honest about your own life as a child and the way that like your mom never kept a secret from your dad when you did something wrong.
you got to remember who you're talking to.
Paul,
You got to remember who you're talking to.
oh, I know
You gotta remember
exactly who you're
talking
talking.
to.
I'm talking.
So, but yeah,
Okay,
but my
maybe
life
okay,
story. But
maybe in
I'm
your
not trying
case,
to frame. I'm
maybe
not trying to frame my entire heart or a segment of my life as meeting the theme for a Christmas movie, right?
yeah,
And
but
so that's what we're saying.
the
No,
end of
but
the movie.
that's the lax. That's the lax like charitable thing you're doing. All I'm saying is, and I didn't even get into like if I didn't like the movie or like hate the movie. All I'm just saying is that if we critically look at the criteria of what we did last year about what makes a Christmas movie, it didn't hit the mark there. So like, and
Yes,
we started off,
they're
we
all
started off
they're.
talking about like with family, but like,
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Let me get a word in here, buddy. Okay, that's why I said there's a trajectory to getting there by the end of the movie, by Christmas morning. Like when you realize and you start thinking back on the things that have happened, it's all just like kind of rites of passage stuff. In fact, if you were to go to the source material, this is not really like culled from something called A Christmas Story. It's just like a collection of stories from this guy's life, Gene Shepherd. So it's not like it. So that's why it has like kind of the structure that it has, and they anchor everything with that present because that's what kids are like, and it gives us a through line to the end. But if you think about the movie, that all the stuff that you just watched, and then you think about Christmas morning and what happens on Christmas morning, one of the most like heartfelt moments is that Darren McGavin, as the old man, gets Ralphie the thing that he actually wanted, and he was the only person that Ralphie never asked for it to. He never mentioned it to his dad.
Hey, that's funny. What's that over there behind the desk?
Where?
Oh, behind the desk, against the wall over there. Why don't you go check it out? Come on.
What have you put over there, honey?
Santa Claus probably brought it.
But it shows that his dad actually cares very deeply about his family and about his son, and he was very excited because he even kind of goes against his mother's wishes in a technically, because his mother really doesn't want him to have it for the reasons that you see, which is like an ironic turn that Ralphie almost shoots his eye out and proves his mom right.
Right, because it's a comedic effort, right? Because he's like half in the bag. Like you can see, like there's like a lot of the things strongly suggesting that he's hungover in the morning when they're giving presents, and then he's even offering him wine in like the youngest is asleep, on the floor, and he's talking like, "Oh, this is great wine." He's like, "Hey, you want to try some, Ralphie?"
This wine's not bad. Well, it's not good either, but you want to sip?
No, you don't.
Like offer him that, so now he's like looking up and like, "Oh, why don't you go check by there?" Right? He's just enjoyed it, and then like have the bag, and then not like, "Okay, my 8-year-old, like here's how we do this. Shoot,
Again,
don't point it, like right, and just let him go have it." It's just I had one at 8, you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's like when my dad gave me a slingshot, and then I immediately made my parents regret that they gave me a slingshot, because that's what happens when you give a young boy a slingshot.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But that it's just but that like there like in the family, right? So so if you'd say so your counter of with that would be like it comes in at the end and he gets him what he wants.
I think if you look at in totality, when you look at all of the events that have been happening, most of it is just rites of passage stuff for a kid that age, like defending yourself from a bully, doing stupid shit with your friends, doing pranks at school. A lot of it doesn't actually specifically have to do with Christmas itself. It's not until the only stuff that really specifically has to do with Christmas stuff is isolated in the family segments, because most of those surround doing something about Christmas, whether it's like putting up the tree or going Christmas shopping, or what they're going to have for Christmas dinner, Christmas morning. That's kind of where you get Ralphie asking his mom for the BB gun, etc. Like that's where we get our Christmas stuff. So I think if you were to isolate the family stuff, which you think is obviously some sort of horrific upbringing,
I think
which I
when he
just
goes back,
disagree with.
because he's going back and realizing he's married obviously because of his own memories that he's like recounting, right? But like the whole thing of like family union or driving a positive message, because here's the other thing, getting into like the themes of the criteria, because I'm still on like why I don't think it met like the things that we talked about in Zoobox last Christmas, or what makes a Christmas movie, right? So like you think it's like it basically it's like tied in there, right? Because every other like right, and you say like rite of passage, and the reason why I'm saying it's like repressed memories, because everything that he's looking back at, it's hilarious, and actually you're actually laughing at somebody's like pain that, right? So like things like what are the things that like goes back to, like he thinks about like fantasizes about acing his English essay, his theme paper,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
And like in that, and then like hard reality of that, like one of his main joys, is that radio show that they're going to like listen to, right? And then gets his like little decoder ring, and then realizes that everything's working for it, that it's just a fucking commercial, and like
yeah.
what a ripoff, right? Like just wrong. So that's like another rite of passage.
That's what I'm saying. It's representative of like real life and what it's actually like to be a kid and having to have those kind of disappointments. And it does it in a kind of a sweet, saccharine, comedic way, but it is there. That's why I like the movie so much, is because it has like this heightened quality to it, but at its core, it's very grounded and it feels very sincere and very real. And there are things like, especially with Ralphie's character, that I identify with a lot, like remember just my own recollections of being a kid and how I felt about things, and the daydreaming I would do, and
Who's
all that kind of good
projecting
stuff.
now? Who's projecting now? Oh
Oh
my
my
god!
God.
Oh my god! So just kidding. But yeah, but one of the things too that I thought was just like really like at like a bad Santa level type of like thing was the actual department store scene with the disgruntled Santa and elves,
Yeah.
and like how off-putting that
But
was.
that's what.
I mean?
But if you've ever been a kid in one of those situations, that's how it really is. Like there are people that are at fucking work. There's a bunch of screaming kids. Like, I'm not saying that the movie doesn't have like a darker edge to it, or it's not like even a little bit cynical. I don't think it's cynical about the family and actually Christmas. It's cynical about like corporate Christmas, about like the commercialized version of Christmas.
But given a story of its times, and usually people or a product of their times there, when they go back and reflect, they can still reflect fondly, but still understand and recognize that it was a very tough time,
Of course,
and it
yeah, of
was
course, because it's
painful,
all
right?
relative.
And
I mean,
that's
everything's relative.
but like at the core, like that's what this is a light comedy about, like loosely connected, repressed memories of certain things,
Yeah, but
and what he's driving
what
out for like the positive thing.
but what happens that's so heinous that you would consider a repressed memory? Like most of these things to me read as like very normal things that kids deal with when they're kids. I mean,
Yeah.
you remember when you dealt with bullies, and then the first time you were able to like stand up for yourself and like kind of fight back because you were just pushed in the corner one too many times, and you say fuck it, and then the problem is kind of solved. It's just like one of those it encapsulates that feeling and that emotion, and which most, I think, at least probably we might be the last generation to really suffer through this in those kind of ways. And even we might even be unique in that because of where we grew up. Because there might be a lot of people our age that also don't have those same experiences, the same rites of passage, even though modern public schools are like prisons.
Yeah.
Where you gotta hope you don't get fucking stabbed on your way to the bathroom. So maybe it's coming back. But like,
No, it's coming back. But it's just like I said, is making light on repressed memories because I love my dad. That son of a bitch still like swore up a storm. Made us emotionally uncomfortable with his temper,
of course, yeah.
and then we got our ass whooped and we're always on edge on it. But at the end of the day, we still look back at it with
Because
hints of love to like repress it, right?
You live through it. You live through it,
Right.
and you, as an adult, you look back and be like, well, not a perfect person. By any stretch, like our fathers, our parents are not perfect, and we
so
still are okay to one
But
degree
if
or
we're
another.
laughing at things that are pretty rough, or things like that, like real issues, like doing that, because whether it was like standard, like everyone got an ass whooping, it's still technically like domestic abuse, even though it's through the lens of that. But no, it's just like you agree with me. All I'm saying is that it is like a dark comedy.
No,
And it's
I
about, like,
disagree with
repressed
it.
memories.
I disagree with like calling it repressed memories because I don't think those are repressed memories for like somebody of that time period, especially. Like I think that would be so normal and so par for the course. Like you brought up Randy, his little brother, like hiding in the cupboard. Well, that's just something like a little kid's gonna do when he has a sense that like there's trouble is afoot. Somebody's gonna get in trouble. Like we have siblings. We fucking we've definitely had people crying on our behalf, right? They didn't know better. We probably deserved it, but
yeah, none of our life stories are making a Christmas movie, buddy. So,
they could, Paul. Just it takes the right framing.
No, we just got to make sure that it ends with getting a present, right? And then then he hits the mark.
It's not the present.
I know.
It's not the present. It's the gesture, and then the beautiful moment when they're at the Chinese food restaurant because his mother's dinner gets ruined by those stupid dogs.
So it was so funny. So speaking of like the word youngest brother, right? What I thought was really interesting is that they like he got a Zeppelin for Christmas, right? And he's trying to put in the time frame. I got a whole bit about like the time period here as it relates to the fog that is memory. Like someone our age would look back at what happened when we were 8 or 9. It's going to be foggy. But I just thought like that was like a funny bit of that's what the times like Zeppelins were still cool, but the Hindenburg, happened big disaster in 1937 and killed like 35 people. You're right. That happened there. It was like that foreshadowing. I feel like for the next event, when the dogs come in, like
oh maybe
like
I guess I don't think
that.
so, but I could see how that you could look at that as foreshadowing. Sure.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I don't know. Dude, the Challenger blew up. Did kids stop buying fucking spaceships and rockets?
Oh, the space wasn't cool anymore by the 80s. By 86, they weren't even on that.
They
anymore.
weren't buying that stuff. No,
they were already over it, man. They were already over it.
They're buying Spider-Man toys. Maybe if you send Spider-Man to space, kids will get back into space again.
Well, maybe they, if the astronaut suits were fucking like cast in fucking cool looking colors, it might actually get funding and people turn in.
Yeah, well, that's what Elon Musk is for.
Yeah, yeah. He'll get there. He'll get us there.
He's got to make space suits cool again.
Yeah, but no, like that was the like absolutely being like inflammatory to like bust your chops like about that.
I know you are. I still gotta come at you, buddy.
It's still a whole movie. Yeah, but you didn't come at me with doing this. It's just like, oh no, it's nice. But like, where do we meet? Where do we meet the definition for like coming? Because maybe you can help me out here of where it hits the goal of like being a Christmas movie.
Where it hits the goal. I guess it's kind of be like similar to like Bad Santa, right? It's in the last like few minutes of the movie.
But even Last Santa, Santa, the Billy Bob, almost like died in support of doing something better than himself, doing something beyond himself for it, right? So that embodied the spirit and with the time to make that, right? So where did that happen?
It's like extra natural. Where does that happen? I don't think that happens in the story because I think it's about that no matter what your household is like, no matter what your family is like, no matter what you're dealing with, this is a time that people put aside to like acknowledge how much they care about each other.
Right. So
It's like I
the
don't think it doesn't always have to be this extra super special big bombastic thing.
it doesn't have to be a big bombastic thing, but what is a thing? Or where someone has done it, like with all these other, like, Christmas classics, like we've rewatched together and talked about over the last couple, like, Christmases. There's
Well,
always
I think
something.
well, yeah, because we've watched stuff that has dealt with
Mhm.
in some ways like supernatural elements,
Yeah.
except for Bad Santa. I think that's the only one that we've watched that's not like extra. Well, that one's like extra natural. The other one's like It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street. You can kind of argue there's like a supernatural element to it, etc. But I think like
Miracle on
if you
34th Street was like, the spirit, like getting everybody online to do something better. Like, yeah, we're going to back up. Yeah, we're going to back up this guy who's not Santa because this is,
yeah,
that's
because
like the
this is
greater
about a
collective
family.
treasure,
This is
right?
about a boy. This is about a little
Right.
boy. This is about a family. This is not about the world. It's not about a town. It's about a little kid's Christmas. And like in my opinion, and kind of, and I like I said, I know it's heightened, but I feel like it's very grounded and it's very kind of true to life, true to how life actually is, how your dad actually is, how your mom actually is, like
So,
how
like,
your
so
brother
you can
actually
go
is.
back, you
How
can
it,
go back and recall like a Christmas, right? So this is the Christmas that you're going to pick to write a story about, right? And bring this up, and all these things are happening. No matter what was going on in the world, like tension with my goofy parents, 1940s ish, Indiana, all the stuff going on. I'm getting bullied and blah 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 blah, and then but we still, but at the end of the day I still have family that loves me, and I got the gun, even though now
sure.
it's cool. Now that's cool that I can lie. My mom taught me how to lie and own it and stick with it, and
Oh
so
my
now
god.
that's not going to start cause any problems down the road at all,
No, not at
so.
all. Not at all. No. No, but I think
No.
actually, honestly, when I was watching that, I thought that was like one of the most authentic childhood things that's in the movie is that like
Mhm.
fuck.
Yeah.
My mom was kind of right. And now I have to find a reason. I have to scheme something so I don't get in
can't.
trouble.
For a moment, I thought, I'll fake it. They'll never know the lens is gone.
Oh no.
Rapidly, my mind evolved a spectacular plot. Let's see, an icicle, yeah, falls off the garage and hits me in the eye. It would work. It had to work. Quickly, I whipped up some tears.
Ralphie?
And I don't tell her that she's right. Like, and I think
Mhm.
that's just a very normal kid thing to do.
I
I mean, we have kids. We know this. We have
I like
kids.
that. I like that exchange where he's coming, she's getting in, and then Dad's like concerned for like a hot second. Like, what just happened? She's like, "Oh, I got there. Just continue to read your funnies."
What?
No, it's okay. Just read your funnies. All right.
Randy? Wake up, Randy. God.
He's like, I don't know. It's like,
Well, yeah, because it's a little stereotypical, right? Like it's a little bit like that, and especially also at the time, not just when the movie was made, but like the time period it takes place. If a kid gets hurt and it's nothing super serious, your dad looks over, you alive?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, he's fine. All right, just kind of go
Yeah,
back to whatever he was doing.
yeah.
I
But
definitely had a dad like that, so like maybe that's why I respond to it that way.
there you get it, man. But yeah, no, dude, I wanted to like look up a couple of things about this, like other like YouTube views I saw, just completely pissed me off. Like
What pissed you off about them? Just out of curiosity, because I actually didn't
so,
get a chance to really watch any.
like
So
so there's a couple that just keep going on about like the same thing. So they'll say here at Zoobox will like explain and try to defend what a theme is and then how it met that theme, right? So Christmas theme and like what it did, and we break that down here, right? Because the 60 people that are going to watch and the 10 people that hit like, they need to know this thing. But
that's true.
but there's nothing like added on to like why was it so funny and it was just like so wholesome, and then they'll get into like some continuity things and say that, like, well, the movie doesn't flow, and it's very like the recurrent theme, the word, like all these people are using, like, episodic. It's episodic. You can loop in and out of this. It's great background. You can, like, loop in and out of this and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation with, well, not like Christmas movies, but just like older movies in general, right? Oh, even a Christmas movie, like, but at what point, like, do you respect the craft, or like how they met something, or what point do you write it off as, a product or limitations of the time, right? And so, like, I don't like the term. I don't like this being described as, like, like episodic. And I know they said it was based off of guys, like, a series like short stories trying to get to it, but I think that the director for this kind of like really played into the theme of, like, having like an unreliable narrator talking about everything and
Oh,
reflecting everything,
100%.
and then making it, like, hazy like a dream. And I really like,
Yes, because
every
it's
time
like the
every time
half remembered things. It's half remembered things.
I remember things and just glorify things, especially when it goes into, like, imagine everything, right? Like,
Yeah.
like what, like one of the things that your imagines of, right? And you can say that, like, this is, could be like too, like, Freudian to look into it about how to prove his parents right, where that scene where he's pretending he was blind, he comes in, he's like, "What did it, son? What did it?"
That was one of my
No,
favorite
I know, I
bits.
love that part, but he's like, "It was the soap poisoning." Oh God, no, not the soap.
And his dad does, like, it's a very, like, my dad and me thing, where he criticizes the mom for buying a certain brand of soap.
I told you not to use life, boy. Oh, I feel awful.
Yeah,
It's like, I can't remember what the name of the brand was, but I just started laughing. I was like, "Oh my god!" Because I, like, heard myself. Because I'd be like, why do we have this anyways? Like,
yeah. Just look at, like, like, just fantasize about actually being blind, and then when they're all, like, we're asking, like, what happened, that I could tell them it was the soap poisoning.
because that's such a beautiful, like,
I know,
that's a very real, honest feeling that you have when you're a kid who's been in trouble. You're like, man, if I could just fucking show you how
Show
evil
them,
you are right
show
now,
them. If I
just
could
let me
just
show
show them,
you.
man.
Look what you
Yeah,
did.
that'd be
Like,
good.
yeah.
That would be
I
good.
mean, we all kind of, I think, and that's what I think I like even about the fantasy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is that it also acknowledges, like, like a real feeling, like a
Yeah.
real desire, like a real impulse, a real daydream of how kids interact with things. And I think that's one of the more insightful things about the movie, is that it really takes things from a kid's perspective,
Right.
in an authentic way, not in a saccharine movie way, not like a Hollywood way.
And that's the, like, the imagination, the appeal, like, right? So, like, It's a Wonderful Life and everything. They had, the hokey, angels, and, extra out of body, or, A Christmas Carol, Ghost Christmas Past, blah blah. Here we're going through Ralphie's 8-year-old imagination, right? And then, but it's also mixed, and it's a beautiful mess with grown-up Ralphie, like, to recall this and then remember, like, what he felt like that, and then getting lost into the daydreams, or just thinking what he had, at the time, but also, like, the script of thing, like, too, right? So it just kind of wove into, like, speaking of, you're just kind of like into a really just into, like, like a nostalgic, someone's like, nostalgic ride into, like, what was going on. And then like, what does, make it like Christmas movie, like, no matter how bad the situation was, post depressions, 19 Indiana, like, everything going on, with parents and stuff like that, like, we can get together and go do that, right? But but you're saying, like, what was pissing me off, but, like, the other, like, they're going on, there's a lot of nitpicking, like on continuity errors, and like you said, they're saying, like, it's episodic,
Just the most boring bullshit.
and then there's one guy, which, if you think I'm bad, and then like, you probably know who he is since you're a fucking, like, movie buff, but it's called, like, Movie Bob. Have you heard this Movie Bob guy?
Movie Bob is the worst. Yeah. I don't even know if all of his, like, movie opinions are the worst, but, like, as a person, he's a cretin.
Well, I watched his video there, and, like, he did bring up one thing, one observation where he tried to pinpoint, because he goes, no one really knows what when the movie takes place in, except the log lines say 1940s Indiana. So like for one, like it was like some type of like mystery of like when it was like when it took place. But he cites in this part with the Dakota ring, saying that the date on the Dakota ring was 1940, and then and it just goes off on tell another thing too. And then also you mentioned like the Chinese restaurant scene or whatever. That guy like shat all over that scene by taking it. By just going on like, oh no, this is terrible. This could have been a great moment, but then they had to ruin it like with like
they had to make it racist.
I'm like,
take the whole with power of glory. Tis the season to be jolly. No. Not ra 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 la 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 la.
It's just like also too like this was aged, but it wasn't any bad. Actually, and if you watch any, I don't know, any Asian stand-up comedian, like you can't go through one stand-up bit without talking about what a perfectionist their parents are and how they were correcting them. So like if you're like in that audience, someone of that persuasion or upbringing, you'd probably be able to recognize like, yeah, getting corrected in public over doing something that we just learned or still learning. Yeah, that's a very like common thing that's going to happen, right? Yeah. And then just kind of like
dare I say, Paul, it's another moment that encapsulates the spirit of the season. Oh my God. These guys at this Chinese food restaurant, they're trying to sing Christmas carols to this family, but they're but they have an Asian accent. They have a Chinese accent. So they're having a hard time with those L's.
Jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a horsey open sleigh. No, stop. Kitchen, bring food for customers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying. Christmas movie confirmed.
But like even like not even watching like today's eyes, but just like watching it like today, it was a very sweet scene on this, right? Because like and like thinking about not today's times, but like then Middle Earth, America in the 40s, you got a Chinese restaurant, right? No one's going out to eat on Christmas out there, but there they are. So how fucking stoked are they to do this so much that they want to do a live show, right? Like they show their appreciation, and instead they, it's just you got to make it to some freaking half-baked PC.
I mean, the whole scene is amazing. And the whole scene's amazing. I love it. Especially when he cuts off the duck neck.
What? It's smiling at me.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yes.
That Christmas would live in our memories as the Christmas when we were introduced to Chinese turkey. Always right with the word.
Like that, we're not used to the neck pizza, which I saw one of the other YouTube reviews were saying that that was actually all like improv, that the whole Chinese dinner scene.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah,
no kidding.
Darren McGavin.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's good like that.
So that was like a raw reaction of the duck getting shot off. Then that's funny.
Well, they did a few things like that where they wouldn't tell the kids what they were doing, just to kind of make it more real. Like apparently that kid Randy, the scene when they go to Higbee's, the big department store, and he has to slide down the slide. Apparently that kid was like terrified of the slide, so they only got one take of him, and he's really crying. He was really not happy to have to go down the slide. He's like, so we made sure we got it in one take.
Oh man, because if you go back to that take when he goes down there, like they zoom in on him for a little bit post like slide, and he does not look. Wow,
he doesn't look confused.
That is real. That is real. But also the slide scene, that was also one of my favorite parts too, was Santa with the boot on the face. It's just so dark.
No, I want an official red undercover knife to 200 with my rifle.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Well, because so dark. It's a reflection of the time, but it's also how you feel when you're a kid, being like kind of ignored. I love that. Oh, you'll shoot your eye out, buddy.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah,
no.
but back like on the time thing, when I was thinking about it, like, oh yeah, like like it was 1940s. That kind of sent me like a little bit like on a rabbit hole, like looking at it that way. I'm like, by that logic, he was holding something that was dated 1940. So therefore, you're going to pinpoint that's what year the movie was on. You know, it could have been like
because he gets the decoder ring. He gets the decoder ring in the mail, and so he's making the assumption that if it's stamped 1940, then it must be 1940 because he gets it in the mail in the movie. He's like very excited about it.
But where I'm standing here is like, what do we call like continuity errors, or where do we give credit like to the director to making this like to attribute to the aesthetic of a hazy, foggy memory, right? Because like one of I'd imagine like a fan favorite. Like I knew who he was before I even like watched the movie, but Scott Fuckus, like everyone knows who that is, right? Everyone, that's like the quintessential bully, right? With the Davy Crockett hat. Davy Crockett series, it didn't come out till 1957, and that's when it was mainstream. Like now, like at one point they were selling, was it 5,000 of those hats a day? Like,
well, but people wore those kind of hats though.
No, like
if you're in
Tennessee, not Indiana, that doesn't like check out that way.
You don't
right?
think so? If you're like
you have that went
stuff?
nationally. That went nationally, like in there. No, I went in and looked this up. You couldn't get this like at a large scale, right? Then
but you can make it.
But you had, but then you did have the parade. You did have the parade, right? But how would it like a kid in Indiana know about Davy Crockett hat or want to wear?
Davy Crockett is a historical figure.
It's a historical figure, right?
Before the show.
Right, but you'll normally come on, man. Like shows and everything. That's what's going to sell things or make people like want to like wire on a major scale.
Listen, people used to read books, Paul.
Well, I know that, Sean, but I'm just.
But Davy Crockett was a book that young men read in the 1940s, even before the show came out. I mean, that's why they make a show of it in the 50s. Is because I'm not disagreeing with you entirely, but I'm saying I think it is possible,
right? So. Just say, well, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying
the movie's clearly not.
But I'm talking about like what in the movie that contributes to the time, right? Because if we go to that Couture Ringer, because you have the parade scene where you have Wizard of Oz, that came out in 1939, so like that checks out as well. You had the toy Zeppelin, right? The Zeppelin thing I told you Hindenburg was like 1937 when I put Zeppelins could still have been popular. That would have been like a common tool, like a toy to get somebody there too. But the other thing too, like the big like pop like culture icon thing, which this guy, the author of the book for this film, gets credit for being like a pop rock icon. But the infamous like leg lamp, which feature Sean put the picture right there, that came from like a knee-high soda company, and then he writes this book in 1967 that inspired the feature-length film, to write about this, and then that's where he got the idea from the advert, which is way past the 40s, and then that's getting back.
Sure. I mean, I don't think it's not.
So it's like
they're playing fast and loose with like nostalgia from a lot of different times. Like you could say the Davy Crockett hat, the leg lamp,
right?
It's all it could because it's not like. There's no specific date. The closest thing is that decoder ring. That could have been an oversight. That could have been, whatever. Or it could have just been a decoder ring that's stamped 1940, like because they made them in 1940. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I know that like it's pretty understood. And I believe even I listened to the audio commentary. Bob Clark is like, yeah, it takes place in the 40s. Like it's about this. A lot of this is Gene Shepard, but it's also about like me when I was in the 40s. Like about my Christmases and stuff.
Right. So, but just like anything, like going in with like, like the aesthetics of like, recalling loosely, like connected memories about a very like, fond Christmas that you're like referring to, right? And just going in there, that would make sense that you would blend in things from like different eras and the things that happened. Did that happen like, at that time, like, or not? Right. So I just said like, I enjoyed it because like it felt like it fed into like, the aesthetics of making it like like lucid, just like recalling a memory like we do in real life.
Sure,
like that's what goes on in our head, right? It's swinging in like in and out of that. But anyways, but you're saying like why were the other YouTube things make me mad? And it was just like all a lot of nitpicky on like things. And like was that like are those continuity errors, or is that part of making the case for what he was trying to convey there with the series of stories, right? So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's kind of an amalgamation of like history leading up to the time that the stories were written, like you said. So they kind of just use things that would be interesting. I mean, Gene Shepard's a writer. I don't think like is probably not all of this is like literal. Like it's more like his memories of things. He embellishes a little bit. He makes it a little bit more interesting than it actually is, etc. You know, same thing. Bob Clark's doing the same type of thing because Bob Clark as a director and as a storyteller is like making a nostalgia piece for people in 1983. So people that go see this in 1983 see all of these things from the different decades from their childhoods, right? So you have like a couple generations of people that can identify with the movie because of this iconography, because of these pieces, because of whatever, you know?
Right. So a kid wearing a Davy Crockett, a coon skin hat, is something like from the 50s. So but they'll recognize that it's a timepiece from the past. May not be specific to that, but it's being used to like draw you into like old things there too.
It's supposed to activate something inside your memory.
Yeah, but I thought it was a pro and not a con, and whatever. And that's what irked me from other YouTube commentaries.
Well, yeah, because I mean, people that get overly like literal, it's like I joke about this all the time, like online autism, like this literal autism that everybody has. There's no subtext, there's no other reading than what is literally being said, what is literally seen in something. It's like no, because it's a amalgamation of things that make you feel nostalgic. And and even I could say because this is not of my generation. I felt like it makes me feel nostalgic. And I think that a lot of that has to do with like how real the kids feel. Like I could see us when we were kids in that group of friends because they don't whitewash the kids. The kids are little shits sometimes. They swear, they like they do all those kinds of things. They give them like a little little groundedness, a little reality that really makes you connect with them. At least for me anyways. And especially just some of the things that happen, the rites of passage stuff, I can remember I was a little older than Ralphie, but one of my big rites of passage as a kid was somebody was bullying me at school and I picked him up and I fucking dunked him in a snowbank. That's my version of that. That's or my cousins used to beat me up. So I'm like 12 years old. They come at me one too many times. My cousin Chunk. So I shoved him as hard as I could, and I jumped on top of him. And he never fucked with me like in that way ever again. Then it all became psychological games.
Sometimes what you gotta do, man. Sometimes a honey badger's gotta activate. You gotta let it loose. Gotta let it go.
So that's what I mean. Like I identify with those things as rites of passage as being a kid, or lying, or doing this. Even like the thing with the licking the cold pole.
All right. Come on, Karen. Well, go on, smart ass, and do it. I'm going.
Flick's spine stiffened, his lips curled in a defiant sneer. There was no going back now.
This is next. Stop.
Like that's something we all probably did it because of this movie.
Yeah.
And not even realizing that it was from this movie because so much of that stuff probably I'm sure our parents saw it and our friends' parents saw it. Like so many of even the turns of phrase. Like it,
well, even like making a joke, like how many times have you heard it growing up, like during like Christmas or Thanksgiving? What do we do for Christmas? I want to go get Chinese, right? So like it goes like everyone, right? Like everyone's used that or done that, So no, I mean, but no, it's a fun one. I think I would have liked it as a kid. Just seeing it for the first time, like as an adult, you know what I mean? So it's just like you gotta get yourself kind of into it, I think like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, what the fuck ever. Shaun, I love you, but fuck, man, like I gotta watch The Tuck. The Tuck is on, Shaun. What am I doing here? I gotta stop this to go do this. You can't cuck The Tuck. I gotta watch Christmas Story. What the fuck? But and then I got in a better state, which is last night, and then I just sat down on the couch and sit there and just relaxed and watched it and like finished it through. But I had to get something. I had to get something to talk to you about these deep repressed memories and how it didn't meet the major themes of the Christmas movie. We worked that out. We extracted it, but we got it. It's sound.
We got there. We got there.
It was fun. It was fun.
Is there any like particular moments that stick out to you that you enjoyed? But, like,
So
any like the other, other than what we've already mentioned, I suppose.
Was like the collector the abuse thing. Well, like half joking about, but like one of my funny parts because like we can relate to this a lot. But she's asking when when Ralphie said fudge, but the real version, the F dash 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 version.
There we go.
Oh, for one brief moment, I saw all the bolts silhouetted against the lights of the traffic, and then they were gone.
Oh, fudge.
Only I didn't say fudge. I said the word, the big one, the queen mother of dirty words, the F dash 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 word.
What did you say?
Right? It's like, he's like, I can't say that. I heard it from Dad. I don't want to do that. And he's like, he dives out like some kid that didn't say it. And then when his mom proceeds to go make the phone call, guess what he said? And then you hear the kid getting the shit smacked down by and screaming bloody murder from his mom.
Hello, Mrs. Schwartz? Yes, I'm fine. Mrs. Schwartz, do you know what Ralph just said? No. He said...
No, not that.
Yes, that. Do you know where he heard it?
Probably from his father.
No. He heard it from your son.
What? What?
You're just like, whoa. And then also too, no remorse from the mom. And that kid, you're like, oh yes, okay, come here.
No, she knows. She has a slightly horrified look on her face.
She did. Like, I'm putting soap in my son's mouth, and you are.
But it is a insanely relatable moment though, from being a kid and being like, where'd you get these? Actually, for us, it probably would have been like cigarettes. Like, where'd you get these cigarettes from? And then you go in your mind like, who is like the last person they're going to be able to call?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to rat like the real person out. That's your source. That's where you get your cigarettes from.
Exactly. And
no, I had that same thing. Actually, I thought it was such like I kind of had forgot that his dad rats him out, and I was like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah,
you son of a bitch.
Like, he rats him out, right? But he also learned it from him too. And like, whereas, right? So it's the hypocrisy of being a dad, right? And so it's of
course.
Do I do?
No, and it has like those nice little grace notes like that, where it's like his dad knows, he knows.
Yeah.
But he's like in denial.
Mm-hmm.
He's in denial about it. So he tells his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a heartbreaking scene. I agree with
you. I tell you, man. But I guess like one thing, the actor for I found out like just looking up like other things that played Scott Thukis, Andrew Ward. I saw it because after I was driving home, I was just listening to one, then another one auto played, and it was for the new one. And I saw the guy, Andrew Ward, playing. I was like, oh, this guy plays Scott Thukis. So I was just looking, I'm like, yeah, that guy looks so familiar. And then I went in IMDb. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, he's been working for a while. But what really caught my eye is that he was in. He had a cameo in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like a cricket story. So I don't know. Hey, he's correct, but you and I we watched
they would get him for that because isn't it a play on A Christmas Story? Isn't that what that episode is?
That's about it. Like the cricket after he went down his downward spiral through drugs and homelessness through the gang, and then he tries to bring him in. So, but yeah, no, it just I don't know. It just made me laugh, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, man. But yeah, man, like no other notes, man. Any other any other tidbits or anything you talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think it's like it's underrated for its direction. I think it's a very well directed movie. I think it's a very well put together movie, which is because Bob Clark has kind of an interesting career trajectory where he starts off with like Black Christmas, which is like it's an excellent like slasher thriller, one of the proto slasher thrillers It came out in like what year did that come out? I want to say it's like 1974. So that's like before slashers were a thing. That's before Halloween. That's before Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Or your idol John Carpenter stuff, man.
Yeah, Halloween. Yeah, before that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and then he ends up, and then he does like Porky's. You remember Porky?
He did Porky's?
He did 1 and 2. That's a weird thing. He always does like the sequels because he even directed what is the original direct sequel to A Christmas Story. It came out like 10 years later. It's called My Summer Story, which is about Ralphie going on a summer vacation. Obviously a different cast and stuff like that. Charles Grodin is the dad, who is actually a good stand-in for Darren McGavin.
Hold it! Son of a bitch! What was that, buddy?
The old man turned on his innocent voice.
I'm sorry, officer?
Did I hear you calling me a son of a bitch?
I beg your pardon, sir?
He suddenly became hard of hearing, too.
Did you call me a son of a bitch?
Oh, heavens no. Mercy me, officer. Good gracious, no.
People don't know who Charles Grodin is. He was the dad in Beethoven. You remember the Beethoven movies with the dog? Or Clifford with Martin Short?
Yeah.
So he takes up the mantle there, but he ends his career basically making like kind of, well, he's still alive. Is he still alive or did he pass away? No, he did. He passed away in 2007. But he ends up like directing like the Baby Geniuses movies. Like, so he does like a bunch of like TV movies, a couple episodes of television shows, The Karate Dog, like just kind of children's fare. That's how he ended his career. But which kind of bummed me out a little bit because I was like, hey, he's such like a thoughtful director, at least in the early goings of his career. Very thoughtful and really had a good handle on these kinds of movies. Yeah. Actually, a cool factoid that you might be interested in. Wanted his first choice for the dad, or no, actually, Darren McGavin was his first choice, but the studio wanted him to talk to other people, and the other person that was kind of interested in it was Jack Nicholson. It would have been a couple years after The Shining. Probably would have been like, they would have filmed it like 2 years after The Shining.
Yeah, well, The Shining was 1980.
Yeah, 1980.
82, yeah. Oh, man, dude. I would have liked to see the alternate universe like with that, But
yeah, I mean, I'm glad it's Darren McGavin. Actually, it was interesting listening to the commentary because apparently Jack's talent manager just didn't like relay messages very well. But he had heard that Jack actually really liked the script, but nobody ever got back to Bob Clark. So he goes and casts Darren McGavin. And he's like, I'm really happy that happened. Like, Darren McGavin is the perfect person for this, No, because he fulfills all the stereotypes. He can handle the hamminess with also keeping it kind of real feeling a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't think like Nicholson could have like hit those like warm notes like Darren did either, right? No. And then also too, it really would have played into the Fox theme of repressed memories.
Repressed memories
coming right after the fucking Shining, right? Oh my god, go watch the Shining episode. Dark stuff in
that movie. Well, I mean, outside of the obvious dark stuff, there's dark subtext in that movie.
Darker, deeper stuff. The kind of dark stuff you would see at current public schools right now. So
yeah, exactly. Like like gang rape and stabbings. Yeah, no, it seemed like he just had a really good way with everybody. He created a really kind of organic environment on the set. Like all the kids were always playing around, and he had I was listening to the commentary, and the actor that played Ralphie did it with him, and he was trying to kind of goad him. He was like, "Oh, it must have been like really hard working with kids." He's like, "No, you guys were awesome. You guys were awesome. He was just fun. We just had fun. It's cool." And it was like one of those.
It shows a lot in their performances too. One of the performances that comes to mind is when he handed in his essay to his teacher, and then he's going off like thinking, and that might be a hard thing with a kid to time that because they're trying to get the music, the applauding, and clamoring, and then like reaching into like, oh yes, and then actually snapping out of the dream and explaining that, right? And so you can tell that definitely wasn't a first take, but they definitely seemed like comfortable. You could see he was having fun, like with really imagining. So that must have been a really fun conversation before they rolled the film.
Yeah,
here's what you need to think. These like big,
all the kid actors are great. All the kid actors are great, and that's not a common thing in children's movies. Like,
even that like the Scott Fuckus and then his lackey there, like that was such like that made me laugh. Second time I watched it, where he's like punches him in the arm, like, boom, 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 boom.
yeah, I actually made a note about that. Yeah, like, the bully. Because that's another moment, though. That's another moment when you're like with your friends, and that punch just hits you the wrong way, and you're like, "Hey, what the fuck?"
Yeah, just escalates a little bit. You just had to go a little bit too. And just says like young boys. That's how most fights happen. That's how it always happens.
Yeah.
Someone just took it just a little bit too far, and then now, jeez. So we had a literal family brawl, in my family, a few years ago. There was just one too far, slap a little too hard, and then next thing you know, half the family's not talking to you, and people are still bringing it up 3 years later, and
Oh, don't you love that? The passive aggressive, like, remember that time?
Nah.
Like, yes.
No, we're Irish, man. We don't do the passive aggressive shit. Yeah.
No, not at all. Never. Yeah, no, it's just a fun movie. I think it's full of like really, to me, they feel very wholesome. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just indicative of the way that I think about my own childhood or something. Because it's just, they're not perfect. It's not none of these things are perfect. None of these things are idyllic, and I appreciate that about the movie because it just makes it feel more real in a weird way.
Yeah,
and
it makes you. There's no cool or like on your nose thing about like what was great. You just experienced it. You weren't being pointed to like one thing, right?
Yeah, it's not trying to point you to some sort of wholesome message.
It may be on the Hallmark Channel may air the film, but it's not a Hallmark film. You know what I mean? So like it was like visceral, and it was like authentic, like through like primarily driven through like child actors, which is it's a tough thing. So
yeah, because I mean the guy who plays Ralphie, Peter Billingsley, he's really good. He's really good, and he was the most seasoned of all the actors, of all the kid actors.
At the time, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was the most seasoned, and they had to put a lot of work into this too, because it was like one of those things. They filmed it in Cleveland, Ohio, and in Canada in parts, and of course, it was one of those years. There's no fucking snow, so all the snow you see in that movie is completely fake.
No kidding! Wow.
Yeah, and they did most of it.
That's where they picked up little Kitty Scott Fuckus because he's from Canada. He's a Canadian, so
he's a Canuck. Yeah,
most
you find actually Bob Clark is Canadian. There's a period of Hollywood where everybody's fucking Canadian. This being no different, and they but they actually had to because they filmed it in real towns, like in a real place, and they would have to go to the neighbors and be like, "Hey, do you mind if we have these like you got to think in 1982 and they filmed this." What snow machines must have sounded like. They're like, hey, we're going to do this all night long. We're going to do this all night.
Like diesel powered fucking gnarly.
And people were like, and people were just excited that they were making the movie. Like, oh, of course, sure. Yeah. They're over there spraying the trees with hoses like for hours while it's like freezing weather out.
Well, dude, in a town near where we grew up, a big movie in '95 was filmed there called Jumanji. And people still to this day will talk and point out, they go, this is where this happened. And that's where that happened. Even though a small film, a small like bit of like film there, but like that was, their claim to fame. Pumpkin Festival.
There's a part where like David Allen Greer like stops on the side of the road. And I can't remember who it was, like, but every time we would drive by it, like that's where David Allen that's from that movie Jumanji. This road's from the Jumanji.
This is your cousin Mark.
Probably was. Yeah. No, so it's just I know maybe we don't totally agree, but I think it's a bona fide Christmas classic, and it stands out from the crowd as well because I think it doesn't have that obvious saccharine kind of like you had said, like it doesn't like beat you over the head with it. It's not pointing you in that direction. It's kind of trusting you to go on this experience, inviting you into those feelings.
Exactly. It's not telling you what it is. You just experienced it, right? Yeah. And that's why it's not episodic, and that's why you don't flow in and out. It is by design. I think it was well directed, and it was a very fluid, lucid dream type of vibe that I believe was his intent. And it went through that, and it projected it, and it was a bit of a way of weaving into trying to recall memories with blurring up a lot of like details and events, and like purposely I think like detailing it, you'll notice even with the Santa, like the store weren't the voices like going at it too,
Yeah.
right? That was a treble thing, right? So it all feeds into it, and I think it was like well directed and like it brought it into it too. But but I just had to do my bit. I just had to do my bit, man.
Well directed, well conceived, bona fide Christmas classic. You heard it here first from Big Paul. You heard it. He said it. But anyways, yeah, that's really all I got to say about the movie myself. It's such a known quantity. I mean, and like you had said, there's so many people to talk about it. Like, but it's so weird how easy it is that like people just completely kind of miss the point of it with this autistic literalism where they just want to like nitpick everything and try to treat it like it's a fucking puzzle to be put together. It's like it's a film, it's a movie, it's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you had said, it's by design that way. Like it's not there
yeah.
for you to like be like trying to figure out the date. It's kind of supposed to be timeless in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, I think I demonstrated how easy it is to fucking like nitpick and then like take a very like dark take on it, right? So there's a lot of that just embodying that side of YouTube. So, but movie Bob, man, yeah. Thanks for the recommend. I'll check it out.
Yeah, my God, movie Bob. He has me blocked on Twitter. He blocked me.
What?
He blocked me. Yeah, I can't even remember what it was about.
We gotta stop this and revisit that. It's like some Dave Semine or whatever the fuck that guy's name is.
Oh, Devin Sawa. Yeah, it's
Sawa.
not as quite as intense as David or Sawa.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Devin
Sawa. I just said it. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess that's time to end. Anyways, thanks for watching the movie and talking to me about it, Big Paul.
Anytime, buddy.
All right, and thank you all out there in Zoobox land for listening, for watching. We sincerely appreciate it. We hope you guys all have a very Merry Christmas, very happy holiday, whether it's Kwanzaa, whether it's Hanukkah, whether it's Christmas, whether it's I don't know, winter solstice, whatever the fuck you're doing. Take some time, hang out with your family, talk to your friends, reach out to somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, have a drink, have a smoke and a joke. You'll thank me. You'll thank me. All right, everybody. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, there's a bunch of links in the description for everything that we do. Make sure to check us over on Odyssey. Mostly, I think we're actually going to start in the new year, maybe start doing some stuff over on Rumble. We actually do have a Rumble channel. If you want to go sub to us over there, it'd be very helpful because if we can get to 100 subs on Rumble, I don't have to pay to stream over there. So that would be great. That'd be awesome. If you want to give me a Christmas present, you could go do that. That'd be great. But anyways, thanks everybody. Thanks, Big Paul. We'll see you next time. See you next time, everybody. Goodbye.